Is it just me, or does it feel like Marvel's kind of making a comeback? You know, the 2020s have not been the kindest to Marvel, but you already knew that. You already know about the downfall of the MCU and how it kind of destroyed their reputation. You already know about the colossal failure of the Avengers game and how it should have been a single player game. And we already know how the Spider-Man comics have been really bad for a long time and how Zeb Wells is the reincarnation of Satan. You probably have heard these statements multiple times that Marvel as a company has become a massive butt of the joke. But while all of this has been happening for a while now, I feel like they're kind of making a comeback.
Hey Peggy, let me talk to him one time. Hold up.
I actually think the past 2 years for Marvel has actually been quite good, and I 100% believe that if they play their cards right these next few years, they could win back the love they once had in the public eye. But I honestly think Marvel has kind of been learning from their mistakes, and for the most part has actually been releasing a lot of good stuff recently. Let's start with the games because I feel like that's the easiest to talk about. Now, every generation, Marvel always have iconic games, but I feel like the start of this year was really rough for Marvel games. Of course, there's the critically acclaimed Spider-Man titles, but outside of that, not a lot of good. Marvel Midnight Suns was another one that people really liked, but the problem with that game that it appealed to too niche of an audience. A lot of people didn't realize that the cards are just basically replacements for just RPG mechanics, and at the end of the day just chose not to play it, so the game failed. There's also Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, which I don't think anyone remembers, and there's also Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, which I rest my case. These past 10 years of Marvel games have been really bad. Really, all we had were the Spider-Man games. But there was one AAA Marvel game I have yet to mention, and one that I'm sure a lot of you know, Marvel's Avengers. I don't think I need to go into how disappointing Marvel Avengers was. I don't think this game is nearly as atrocious as some people lay it out to be, but it's definitely one of the games I've ever played. There is a good Avengers game in here somewhere. I know it's there. The story, while having some issues, is pretty solid for the most part and has a lot of great moments. But even if the story was okay for the most part, the problem with the game wasn't the story. The problem was it wasn't a single player game because they just forced in this weird multiplayer extraction game to it. Look, not to toot my own horn, but I'm pretty qualified to speak on this game. I went through the painful journey of getting the Platinum Trophy for some fucking reason. So I'm an idiot, but hey, I'm confident in saying there is good things in this game. But at its core, Marvel Avengers is just a really dull game with a really generic art style and an okay story. That's it. Also, will say this, I actually like the Black Panther DLC. I thought that was pretty good. But there was one game that raised from the ashes during this era. One game that's really damn special is one of the best Marvel games to date. I'm talking about the Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, despite the Guardians of the Galaxy game actually being pretty solid, it did really poorly because it was following up one of the worst Marvel games to come out of recent years. And after that game, no one trusted Square Enix with Marvel at all. So we may never get a follow-up to the Guardians of the Galaxy game, which is such a shame, but I think it was necessary for Marvel to get the wake-up call they really needed at the time. Marvel had a new game cooking up. A game that was gonna shake the world. And of course, it was another goddamn multiplayer game. Damn it! But wait, this one has style. And it's a hero shooter, which makes more sense for Marvel. And it looks actually fun, with deep-cut characters like Galactus' daughter? What? Look at these designs, man. It feels like every single problem with Avengers is non-existent here. It seems like Marvel took the right lessons from that game's failure and applied it to this game. Hell, we're no longer restricted to only the Avengers. Everyone was fair game. Fantastic Four, X-Men, some of the Midnight Suns, even deep cuts like Jeff the Shark, Luna Snow, and Cloak and Dagger. Am I excited for a Marvel hero shooter? And turns out I had all rights to be excited, as it ended up being a really fun game. Not only the core multiplayer experience is extremely fun and addicting, but this game feels like it was made for Marvel fans. The the way the characters interact with each other, the way they show these characters' signatures, the costumes they add. Everything feels like a Marvel fan's dream. And it's in a multiplayer game! As a massive Moon Knight fan, I got so much euphoria from seeing all 3 personalities sign their names. That's just adorable. And it's not like they're not telling a story with this game. It's just, you know, in an average seasonal event kind of thing. One season could be fighting Doom, the other season could be about vampires, the other season could have Ultron, and now this season, we're fighting Null. He got out of his chair! And they keep adding new characters, like this month we got Phoenix, and look how cool she looks. And next month we're finally getting Blade! This is the season of characters who don't do shit finally doing shit! As a massive Marvel fan, I am extremely satisfied with Marvel Rivals, and I'm really excited to see more of this game. But I get it, not everyone's in the multiplayer stuff. But that doesn't mean you're not eating though. That don't mean you're not eating though, because we're getting a Marvel fighting game next year developed by the same people who made Dragon Ball Z Fighters, a Marvel beat 'em up developed by the same people who made Shredder's Revenge, a Captain America and Black Panther game set in World War II made by the same people who created the Uncharted franchise, and oh yeah, Insomniac's making a Wolverine game. What a lineup, man! It seems like they're doing everything in their power to make sure that this doesn't happen again. And honestly, it's been really cool to watch. I'm pretty excited for the future of Marvel games, and I look forward to see what's up next. You know, speaking of Rivals, the way they have been handling their characters is a lot better than before. It wasn't a long period of time, so I don't blame people for not knowing, but it felt like for a while, it felt like Marvel kind of relied on Spider-Man for a lot of things. But now, not only he's getting a lot more unique storylines than the same basic stories that get repeated multiple times, but we're also starting to see more characters get the spotlight. You know, less Spider-Man and more, for example, Black Panther. And we have, thankfully, the Ultimate Universe to thank for that. Now, I don't read comics that much anymore, but the Ultimate Universe Spider-Man has been the one that I've been paying attention to the most because how unique this take on him is. Instead of Peter handling these powers as a child and learning how to master them as a full-grown adult, we instead have a Spider-Man who's a full-grown adult who's now dealing with having to learn these powers. We're seeing villains that we once knew being reinvented in this universe, and not only that, it's just a really damn good story. It's really interesting seeing Peter balance being a husband and a father and Spider-Man all at once with his job and stuff like that. And it's not just Peter, we have a whole universe filled with brand new Ultimate characters. I've actually been eyeing specifically on Ultimate Black Panther. I've been meaning to read that, so let me know if that's good. And while 616 is still kind of a mess, Blood Hunt was pretty fun. Watching a vampire invasion happen right before our eyes with these 616 characters was really, really fun, to be honest. And out of all the characters, I actually think Sam Wilson's Captain America shines the most throughout this whole run. If you were disappointed by Brave New World, try reading this, see if this interests you. Going back to the Ultimate Universe, by the way, they also have their own version of Doctor Doom where it's Reed Richards. No joke, no spoilers. I do not want to say anything about this comic. You should absolutely read it. There's so many unique stories that have been told in the Ultimate Universe that I don't even want to go through all of them, mainly because 1, I haven't read through all of them, and 2, I want them to be a surprise for you when you read them. Because I mean it, if you were soured by the Zeb Wells run of Spider-Man or the Black Panther comic where they made Captain America a bigot for some reason, I highly recommend checking out the Ultimate Universe. It is a fresh, new take on the Marvel Universe, and it's so freaking cool. But I know why you clicked on this video. Alright, let's talk about it. The MCU has been in quite the decline ever since Endgame, and it seems like Marvel has yet to recapture that. I'm not doing this again, never mind. You know why the MCU has been in decline. Mid-movie after mid-movie after mid-show after 50 other stuff. They've been throwing a bunch of shit at the wall hoping something sticks, and some of them did. Most of them didn't though. But it might be just me, but I feel like Marvel as a whole has been getting a lot better as of late. Of course there was Brave New World and Ironheart, both ended up being incredibly mid, but they've also released Deadpool and Wolverine, Agatha, Daredevil Born Again, Thunderbolts. We even have MCU adjacent stuff like X-Men 97 and Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. These are all projects that were extremely well received. While some of them financially didn't do that well, like Thunderbolts, I would argue that a lot of them are still really quality and brings back what I've been missing from the MCU while also continuing the more good traits from Phase 4 and 5, being more unique, experimenting more. I am currently working on a Thunderbolts video, so I won't talk too much about my thoughts on it, But if you ask me, this should have been the start of Phase 6, to be honest. I actually think that this was the exact movie Marvel needed in order to restore faith into the MCU again. It didn't rely on nostalgia, it didn't rely on any previous plot lines, it was just a really solid movie through and through. It really felt like a back to basics kind of movie, you know, trying to take these group of nobodies and bunching them up into one big team. And as I was recording, the reviews for Fantastic Four has finally came in, and it's shaping up to be a big hit.
Also, by the way, I've been working on this video for so long that the movie came out and I watched it, so stay tuned to figure out my thoughts. Subscribe and all of that fun stuff. I didn't really know how to transition to this, so I'm sorry.
Which is exactly what we needed after Thunderbolts. You know, continue that momentum. Don't just make one good movie and then stop right there. If that movie continues the goodwill streak that Deadpool, Wolverine, and Thunderbolts started, I'm not saying you disappoint me, then I honestly think it will be just enough to restore faith in the Marvel again. Hell, even the shows have gotten a lot better. X-Men 97 and Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man are MCU adjacent shows, but nevertheless, they are both great. I think Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man ended up being the big underdog of the duo because no one expected that to actually be good. Agatha, a show that no one asked for, ended up being way more solid than anyone ever expected. And of course, we got Born Again, which I haven't personally seen yet myself. I actually had to catch up with season 3 of Daredevil since I haven't seen it before. But it's been mostly positive on Born Again's angle. There are some people who don't really like it till the final few episodes, but there's also a lot of people who thought it was great the whole way through. And with a lot of the stuff that happened behind the scenes, it's a miracle this show came out great in the first place. Or at least I think it did. I still need to watch it. Hell, since I mentioned it, that show ended up being the main reason why they did so many changes to the TV shows. Now the TV shows are completely optional. You don't need to do any homework for them. In fact, Feige proudly stated that you need no homework to understand Fantastic Four. And that is such a great change. No more needing to watch any TV shows. No more needing to look at any recap videos. All you need to do now is just simply sit down, just like how any film should be. And I know a lot of people will bring up the Robert Downey Jr. being Doom thing and say, look guys, they're still washed. They're still washed. But to me, I just want to wait and see with that one. Time will tell whether or not this was a good idea or not. Man, it feels good to be positive on Marvel again. They have been washed for a long time, and it felt like a lot of stuff that were coming out was just half-assed and mediocre. But it feels like they finally understood that. They completely redone a lot of stuff. Their gaming department, the comics, and now they're working on fixing their cinematic universe. Especially now with the new kid in town, they won't be alone anymore. But again, if they play their cards right, they could very much win back the public eye. And judging by the future of this company, I have a lot of hope for them. So yeah, I'm rooting for you, Marvel. I want to have that magical feeling again when watching an MCU film and getting excited to see what's going to happen in this one. I want to bring my little sister to these movies and show her what I grew up on and let her experience her first Marvel film. I want the Multiverse Saga to be remembered as this weird little runt rather than what destroyed Marvel. I want Rivals to still be online after years and years of service, having multiple different characters to play at. I want to see more of my favorite Marvel characters have these cool new video games to play. And most of all, I just want Marvel to be a special name again. I want to feel that same magic that I once felt watching a Marvel film. Because if Doomsday is ass, I swear to God, I'm gonna crash out. Subscribe or else I'll blow up a building.